I've had a question in from Carl. He's got 2 kids, aged 3 and 5. He's got money in the bank and he's wondering if he can put it to better use. Welcome to another 5 Minute Friday here on Meaningful Money. Children, what a joy they are, and they're a responsibility as well. And people give them money, grandparents, aunties, godparents, and it's our job as parents to look after that money as best we can for the kids. So, like many of us, Carl has opened a bank account for his kids, and he's wondering if that's the best thing he can do for them. So, let's answer that. Stick 5 minutes on the clock down here, and let's crack on. First thing to say with investing is that timescale is always important. Risk is a key factor as well, and risk and the amount of risk you should and are prepared to take with your money is a function of timescale. Generally speaking, the longer you have to invest for, the more risk you can afford to take. Why is that? Well, it's a matter of timescales and the windows that you're looking at investments over. You see, if you leave the money in the bank, it's 100% safe. If you invest it in the stock market, different kinds of investments like that, then there is risk involved. So you might look at the performance of a stock market over a fairly narrow window here. And you can see that, well, actually, that's a pretty wobbly line. And if it happens in that very short time window that the market has gone down significantly, you might think, I don't want to take that amount of risk with my money. But if you extend the timescale, what you very often find is that that downturn in the middle is just a blip along the way of a generally upward trajectory. So it's important to understand that the longer you invest over, you can afford to take more risk because chances are the ups and downs will be ironed out a little bit. Did I sound very Cornish then when I said ironed out? Ironed out. So if Carl's kids are 5 and 3, well, the eldest has got 13 years until she is 18. That's a long time to invest over. 13 years ago is 2005. We've been through the financial crisis, various other aftershocks since then, and the impact of the Brexit vote. Seems like an eternity, really, 13 years. And 13 years is a very long time not to be benefiting from the compounding effect of investing. So I would look at definitely investing, if not all, certainly a major proportion of the amount of money that you've got saved for the kids so far. So you really benefit from compounding by investing in real assets. Shares, bonds, property, that sort of thing. Leave the money in the bank. It never really grows except for just a little bit of interest. And as we all know, interest rates are pretty dire at the minute and have been for a long time. So you buy real assets, you buy stocks and shares and stuff, and they generally increase in value over time, but as we've seen, not a straight line. But you can also reduce the risk a little bit by adding to your investment for the kids over time. And you benefit them from something called pound cost averaging, which means you're buying stocks and shares at different prices over the period of the investment. And that in itself acts to smooth out the risk a little bit. When markets are high, yes, you're paying more for your shares, but that's okay. You know, your markets are high, and so you've made money on the ones that you bought when they're a little bit cheaper. When markets are down, you're paying less for your shares, and so you buy more of them, and then you have more of them to go up when markets turn. And all that works to smooth things out a little bit over time. The thing about investing is that it's a bit more involved than leaving the money in the bank, and so you must resist the temptation to tinker with your investments. When it comes to investing for kids over timescales of 10 or 15 years, just put the money in, find a decent multi-asset fund, I've talked about that on the podcast, and set it and forget it. Just let it run. Don't meddle. So what should you buy these stocks and shares in? Well, the obvious answer is a junior ISA, special little ISA account that you can put £4,260 per year in for the kid. The downside of that is that it becomes theirs at age 16 and they can access it from age 18. Why do I say that's potentially a bad thing? Well, I'm sure your kids are going to grow up to be angelic, Carl, but just in case they don't, you may not want them to have access to their junior ISA at age 18. And so for some of my clients that are saving for their kids or their grandkids, we keep the money in their own name, in their own ISAs. But there are some downsides with that. If you're going to save into an ISA, it uses up some of your ISA allowance, which you can't then use for your own saving purposes. Some of my clients are obviously fairly wealthy, and if they're saving for their grandkids but in accounts in their own name, that money forms part of their estate. So if they were to die, inheritance tax could be a problem. That may or may not be an issue for you, Carl. And maybe it's a little bit of extra hassle, but not really. But you should definitely keep that money separate from your own. So ring fence it in an account in your mind for the kids, even if it's got your name on it. As with all investments, if you think there is a cash event coming, by which I mean they want to take some money out, buy a car, put down a deposit for a house one day or whatever, then you ought to consider possibly reducing the risk as you get close to that cash event. But as long as you don't know that it's going to be taken out, then keep it invested. Okay, I hope that helps, Carl. Thank you so much for the question. Please do leave me questions for 5 Minute Friday. Meaningfulmoney.tv/askpete is the place to do that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.